from St. Louis Public Radio. This is St. Louis on the Air.
You know, they might have ideas. We talk about form and rhyme scheme and that kind of thing, and then we kind of get our ideas all on the paper on our big giant Post-it note, and then just move pieces around and edit as we go.
I imagine you've had a lot of experiences songwriting with these kids. Is there any particular favorite lyric that comes to mind looking back on those collaborations?
Well, there is in that song Narwhal. There's the couplet. They use their tusk for echolocation when they're searching for some tasty crustacean.
That's pretty good.
It was a pretty good one. So.
Their babies are born blue and gray. They change colors as they age. They use their tusk for echolocation when they're searching for some tasty crustacean. Their tusk has.
I'm Sarah Fensky. Tomorrow is Endangered Species Day, and the St. Louis band Fire Dog has just the song for the occasion.
The Endangered Species Act of 1973 is an important piece of legislation designed to protect critically imperiled species from extinction. An attempt to avoid another passenger pigeon when we almost lost the American bison. It was alarming to some conservationists. The Endangered Species Act.
And that is from the local band Fire Dog. Endangered species aren't just a one-day-a-year preoccupation for them or a one-song focus. Nearly a decade ago, band leader Mark Pagano wrote his first song about an endangered animal, Missouri's very own hellbender. Things took off from there in a big way, and he joins us today to tell us about it. Mark Pagano, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So it was in 2012 that you wrote your first song about an endangered species. This was about the hellbender, the largest salamander in North America. What got you interested in their plight?
A friend of mine, Mikal Shapiro, who's a movie maker in Kansas City, she was doing a project about the hellbender, and she was visiting the hellbender breeding center at St. Louis Zoo, and she invited me to come along, and I was just inspired, and I wrote the song shortly thereafter, and we recorded it, and it was a big hit for Fire Dog, and I just kind of took it from there as a sign that maybe people wanted to learn about animals through music.
So when you first wrote this song about a salamander, was your band fully on board from the get-go, or were they wondering if this was a good idea?
They were certainly on board, I would say. It was partially inspired by my bandmate Celia, who you heard singing Endangered Species Act. She had previously recorded a song, an informational animal song about the armadillo. And so it was kind of in line with that format of informational animal songs, and they were into it.
Well, it probably helps that song is insanely catchy. I want to let people listen to just a bit of the Hellbender song, since that's where it all began. This is Hellbender from Fire Dog.
Hellbender, salamander, amphibian, breathes in oxygen through its skin, protects its body with a layer of slime. In North America, it's the largest kind of salamander. Hellbender, 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 hellbender.
So that is Hellbender by the band Fire Dog. Mark, you can see why that song would become a hit. It sounds like it really took off.
Yeah, it was certainly well received, and it's still, kind of one of the most requested of our tunes to this day.
So, it's a great song, but you could also see it being almost a one-hit wonder. You're going to do one animal song and then move back to doing other songs. When did your interest in songwriting about endangered species go beyond the Hellbender?
Well, shortly after we released the song as a band, I started doing songwriting workshops in St. Louis Public Schools through an organization called Springboard to Learning. Mm-hmm. And I used that song as kind of my introduction, my lead-in, my example of a song, and we deconstruct it from there. But kids were really took to this informational song about the Hellbender. And shortly after that, I became a father. We released an album called For the Kids that also had Hellbender on it. And kind of our follow-up to that, I decided would be Endangered Species Project. Just trying to really, create music that had a purpose in the world, and hoping to inspire young people to get interested in the animals with whom we share our natural world.
So from there, I imagine you couldn't just go with one song about a hellbender, one song about the Endangered Species Act. Did you have to dig deeply into learning about all of these species?
It was kind of an organic process, I guess. There was certainly plenty to choose from, but I guess I took a trip around that time. It was 2015 when I started writing for this album. And I took a family trip down to the Everglades where I met the manatee and the American crocodile and, and then the internet introduced me to the magic rabbit who was photographed that same year. It was a very rare creature to be seen. So just kind of different things came up for me that I was like, oh yeah, that's one that I'm going to do about. And of course, the passenger pigeon is the cautionary tale of a animal that got hunted to the point of extinction. So those are kind of the touchstones on that album, Endangered Species Project.
So these are kind of some fun songs, but at the same time, there's a little bit of a dark undercurrent that this is also cautionary.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, I guess part of my goal is to bring some joy to the experience of learning, but also, to that joy and that musicality of it doesn't neglect that these are serious topics, and hopefully it just encourages us to find ways to honor the creatures with whom we share our world, So since then I've been working with kids where they're writing their own songs around different animals.
And when you say they're writing their own songs, they're doing the music and the words? These are little kids?
There's been a variety of different formats of this program. I did one project in the creative experience at Central Library, which kids definitely had more agency over creating music through technology, using Pro Tools and the different software they had access to. And then there's been more collective projects where I'm leading a whole classroom through the experience of writing a song, where I might be more involved in the music writing of it, but they're kind of doing the research and coming up with the lyrical ideas and kind of putting it together that way.
And so one example of this, I understand, is the song Narwhal. This was written with some fourth graders, is that right?
That's right.
And so for this process, we're going to play a clip from this song in just a moment. But is this one then where the whole class, different people were doing different parts of this, turning this into a song?
Yeah, that's right. It was done at Kerrs Mill Elementary. And yeah, it was a whole class of fourth graders. I think 2018 is when we wrote the song together.
Okay. Well, let's play a little bit of that collaboration. This is the song Narwhal. This is from fourth graders at Kerrs Mill Elementary School in Chesterfield, along with Mark Pagano of Fire Dog.
Narwhal, unicorn of the sea. It can grow between 13 and 20 feet. Polar bear and orca are its predators, found in the Atlantic and Russian waters. As big as a bus, narwhals swim free, a cross between a unicorn and a manatee. These large mammals eat fish for food. Their tusk is just an overgrown tooth. Narwhal, narwhal!
And that is the song Narwhal. I mean, you pack a lot of information in there, and there's kind of some vivid writing talking about the cross between a unicorn and a manatee. Are the kids writing those lyrics?
Yeah, the kids really did take ownership over the writing process on that one. They worked in small groups to kind of come up with different lines, and then we just kind of pieced it together, like collage style.
So are they writing in that sort of, you need it, I'm sure, to be pretty succinct. There's not a lot of room for flowery language there. Are you having to pare back what they come in with?
They might have ideas. We talk about form and rhyme scheme and that kind of thing, and then we kind of get our ideas all on the paper on our big giant Post-it note, and then just move pieces around and edit as we go.
I imagine you've had a lot of experiences songwriting with these kids. Is there any particular favorite lyric that comes to mind looking back on those collaborations?
Well, there is in that song Narwhal. There's the couplet of, they use their tusk for echolocation when they're searching for some tasty crustacean.
That's pretty good.
It was a pretty good one. So it's always surprising to hear what they come up with.
That's great. So you're coming up with some really good songs harnessing the power of the youth. Do you think there'll be a sequel to the 2018 album focused on these endangered species?
There is kind of an idea for a sequel. At this point, there's enough songs that were written with young people that's kind of my goal, is to have the Endangered Species Project too, that are all kids songs. So there's a number of them, and we've started to bounce some ideas back and forth. But at this point, we still haven't really connected in person since the pandemic. We've been working remotely a little bit, the band and I. So hopefully we're getting to the point where we will be, reconnecting in that way.
And that'll enable you to sort of get this across the finish line.
Yeah.
We also want to mention local artist Wolf Puppy helped come up with some stop motion animation for these student songs. So there's some cool videos here too. We'll make sure to get those up on our Twitter account. That's at STL on air. We'll also get that on our website. How did that come about to have this video component?
Well, so it was early on, about a year ago, I guess April of last year, and I was working on this song Sea Turtle, which I had just completed in the last residency I did before the shutdown. And I was just, stuck at home and wanting to do some creative stuff. And so I started recording this song, Sea Turtles, and then I saw my friend Holly Lammert, Wolf Puppy, was posting some stuff she was doing with experimenting with stop motion. And I said, hey, would you want to do something together? And she really put together a beautiful piece at the Sea Turtle video. And then we kind of took that further into the Narwhal video, which I thought turned out really nice too.
They did turn out nice. And this has become such a big project. I mean, this has now been something that you've been focused on for just about 9 years. Why do you think this work around endangered species and building songs around it has become such a long-lasting project for you?
Well, I mean, there's I think with my music, I just kind of reached the point where I wanted to do something that kind of had a larger meaning and hopefully a bigger impact of just my own self-expression and telling my own story and giving young people opportunity to tell stories about the natural world and really just honor these creatures through art and music.
And you've done an awesome job at that. And we want to let people know that tomorrow, Endangered Species Day, you can celebrate that day, pay attention to that day with Mark on Firedog's Facebook page. Just go to that Facebook page tomorrow from 4:15 to 5 p.m. It's an entirely virtual event, and it's free to join, and you can pay attention to that day. So Mark Pagano of Firedog, thank you so much for joining us today. And let's go out of the show with one last tune on this subject. This is Habitat by Firedog.
Habitat, where you live. You might live in a house. You might live by the ocean. In a tree in the sea. You might live in the breeze if you get the notion. You might live in the desert or the tundra or the taiga. You might live in the jungle with the monkeys and the tiger. You could live on the banks of a muddy, muddy river. Your habitat is where you live.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
Habitat, where you live.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations. And leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thanks.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri, St. Louis.
Support comes from Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to sustainable and sound conservation of the state's forests, which support more than 41,000 Missouri jobs, resulting in a $10 billion industry. ChooseWood.com.